So I recently came across this channel called QuickBooks Studio UK. And I thought there was some really useful things we could learn from this channel. So I'm going to go through and kind of break down what I think they're doing wrong and how they can improve. Let's go through it. First thing here, how to beat YouTube as a brand. So YouTube for brands versus YouTube for creators is a totally different game. So you need to understand that going into it and really understand what specifically are the highest leverages for a brand versus for a creator, right? So for a brand, the highest leverage things are the unique selling point. What is this specific aspect of your content that's unique that you can play into that's going to work for you? On top of that, hyper-targeted content. Because you're a brand, you typically have a product, a campaign, a message you want to get across, and you want content that's going to get that core targeted. And then on top of that, you want ruthless execution. A lot of times with brands, you can get caught up in the clutter of getting 10 people to approve it. But the reality is the brands that are winning have ruthless execution. They are putting content out. They are going at it quickly. They're making a lot of thumbnails. They're testing stuff ruthlessly. And so let's go through specifics of the QuickBooks channel and really break down what they're doing wrong and how they can improve. With content in general, and I think with brands in general, you have three main problems you run into. So it's always three main problems. If you can solve all three of this, it's game over. You win. So the first is a packaging problem, right? It's the thumbnail and title. The second is idea problems. What's the core video is about and why it's interesting. And the third is a content problem in the actual video. Is the content good? Are the segments good? Is the intro good, right? Before we go through all these 3 points and the solution to each one, we need to go through what the core audience is that they're targeting, who they're targeting, right? So on YouTube, you have two types of audiences. You have entertainment and you have educational. And for this brand, they're currently, if we take a look at their channel, they're doing a little bit of a mix of both, but mostly they're really doing entertainment where they're doing these sort of match the business owner, who is not a business owner, who's the business partner? Do all business owners think the same? Which I guess you could say is a bit educational, a little mix, right? And then recently they've been kind of going a bit more in the educational space. So let's break down both and then I'll tell you which one is obviously better, right? So entertainment typically with brands, it's not good because there's no brand audience aligned. People come to be interested. They'd rather watch a Mr. Beast video than a QuickBooks video about, guessing the business owner, right? On top of that, it's random viewership. Viewers there's no connection to the viewer, right? They come for entertainment. On top of that, there's bad conversion to product or to the brand or to the campaign in general because people come for the content, they aren't coming for you. You aren't sharing something with them. There's no impact on their journey, right? Typically, you want to impact the viewer's journey. You want to share something, be helpful, create a meaningful connection between both of you. But there's nothing with the entertainment viewer. So it's really high risk in terms of getting views. For educational, it's really the exact opposite. So you have brand and audience aligned. So this brand, it's about finance, it's about taxes, QuickBooks. You want how to do your taxes properly, right? So you have that aligned with terms of educationally helping people do that. On top of that, you have pain points you could target. People struggling with taxes, with success, with business, with entrepreneurship, with finances, right? There's specific pain points you can target in the content. On top of that, you can share successful stories. You can have big impact on the viewer's journey by sharing and helping them through their journey. And it's pretty low risk and pretty high reward. If you look at these two videos, what would make for a greater impact on them and in general, right? So we have who is not a business owner, 6 strangers, 1 imposter. Kind of an entertainment video where you're kind of guessing who's not the business owner, right? Is there going to be a ton of golden nuggets of advice of impact versus how a New Jersey mom turned a failing beach bag into $100 million business? Right? All of a sudden, I'm a user of QuickBooks. I'm someone who's interested in entrepreneurship, finance, taxes, business. That's interesting. I want to make $100 million. I'm trying to be successful. So you're sharing a journey. You're sharing a story, a success story that other people can learn from, right? And it's still, in a sense, it's kind of a hybrid of entertainment and educational, but you're really focusing on how can we help that viewer by sharing something, by sharing a successful story. Secondly, I think another really big thing you need to really understand is your unique advantages, right? So with QuickBooks, I wrote down a couple that I think are really unique advantages for QuickBooks. So let's go through them. We have access to top talent and creators. So you can see with their old videos here that they've worked with a lot of the biggest creators in the UK, right? So they have access to big creators with big polls, with big viewership, right? On top of that, they are finance or tax experts, right? QuickBooks, they have access to probably the smartest people in the world when it comes to taxes and finances. On top of that, you have access to millions upon millions of businesses that use your services. You have access to millions upon millions of unique entrepreneurs that sell really interesting things or that have really interesting stories. And you have a large budget, so you have the ability to execute and create the high quality content, right? So knowing all that, let's go through the 3 problems and really dissect how we can improve, right? So in terms of the packaging, the main thing is clutter. I think with these thumbnails, a lot of it, you want to organize it so that it's easy to understand, 3-element rule, not have too many elements in the thumbnail. On top of that, there's too many faces to look at. Typically you recommend only doing 1 or 2 faces, and you make them big so you can really see the emotion of their face, right? And then lastly, you have title best practices, right? So keeping titles under 54 characters so that the title can be seen anywhere on YouTube in the browse and suggested. On top of that, here we have play along, who's the business partner, test your skills. So play along and test your skills are really saying this, they're saying the same thing, right? They're saying just watch the video and try and guess on your own. And you're saying that twice with play along and test your skills. So that's just an obvious thing that you should not be doing. On top of that, who's the business partner isn't the most optimal way to angle that title so that it pulls the most interest, right? I think in terms of the idea problem, it's the same thing. You have a sort of mismatch with the content and the audience you want to target, right? So can you guess the fake CEO doesn't target the ideal audience, it targets more of an entertainment audience, right? Same thing with can you spot the fake DJ entrepreneur? It's more entertainment, you want more educational. So let's go through ideas that I think actually would work, right? So we have sharing unique stories and leveraging creator access. You have access to the biggest creators in millions of businesses. So you can tell really interesting success stories that anyone can, sit down and watch and enjoy, but also really learn. On top of that, you can leverage big names to really dive into their businesses, their finances, their income, and really break down how they are successful. And that's really interesting too. You have that sort of unique viral factor of, showing something no one's ever seen. And then in terms of the content, I think a big thing is the intro. The intro is the most important part of the video. It's where most people will leave in the video. The first chunk of the intro, the first 30 seconds, typically, if you look at the retention chart of that video, 30 to 40% of people leave. It's the biggest drop in viewership, right? It can make or break your video. A good intro makes or breaks your video. So you want the intro to be less than 20 seconds so that people kind of get the gist of what the video is about and then instantly move on to the content, and they can get into the content and actually get into what they came and clicked for. On top of that, you want to cut out unnecessary fluff. A lot of times videos will drag on jokes that didn't hit, or they'll give way too much context on the business or income or whatever in the video in the beginning when we should be diving straight into the first point or the first segment. On top of that, you want to reaffirm the title and topic in the intro. You want the first line to be something that reaffirms that you clicked on the right video, this is the video you came for, this specific topic. And then finally, once you really hook the viewer and make them want to watch the video, then you want to quickly transition into the content so they get what they came for. That's really kind of the basics of how to beat YouTube as a brand and how this brand could improve. If you found this interesting, I throw links in my bio where you can reach out to me. We're a team of 3 best friends that have been doing YouTube for 5 years, and we worked with some of YouTube's biggest creators and brands, and we would love to work with more people. So if you're interested, links are in the description of the video. Reach out, let's hop on a call, let's talk.